If you purchased the Studio at 106 Da Gama Black Friday Art Journal bundle, then this video is for you, an introduction to art journaling using the ultimate watercolor journal. It's very basic. It just gives you a bit of background. If you want more videos on art journaling, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you will also find a variety of older art journaling videos on the channel. Thank you for watching this video. This short video will focus on the Ultimate Watercolor Art Journal, available exclusively from the Studio at 106 Da Gama, online or in-store in Jeffreys Bay. Here's a short explanation with just a basic introduction to applying some fun elements to your brand new journal. Hi everyone. So here I'm quickly paging through the journal. I've already made a few pages in my journal. You can see that it has a beautiful faux leather cover, and each book is hand stitched. Inside the book, you've got 300-gram watercolor paper, cold press. So it's textured on one side, and on the other side it is smooth. I already did some testing on the pages. So on the front page, you can see that I used some paints, I used some stamping, I misted it. I really put it through the test. And that first page is not a watercolor page. This second page I also put through the test, and today I am going to show you what you can do to create a background. So I'm using brand new paints from it's Gansai Tambi, and it's from Kiritaki. And it's supposed to granulate, which means that as you apply it, the water will react with the pigments and you will get beautiful variations in color, almost like the northern lights. So you can see that I wet the page first because it is watercolor paper, and then I applied the paint. Now, what's wonderful about this is that you can see that the watercolor paint sits on top of the page, which is what makes this, or any good quality watercolor paper, so fantastic. I'm then lifting it with a paper towel just to see, and now I'm applying some more paint there. Now it's dry and you can see the beautiful granulation effect there. This is basically just to see how the page will hold up, and I'm going to be creating a background. I've added some splats. It was too dark, so I simply used a paper towel to remove the excess water. And I'm also a little impatient. So remember that you want your paper to dry really, really well before applying the next layer. Next up, I'm going to use a variety of acrylic paints, liquid acrylics, and other acrylic paints that I've had lying around for forever. You can see that one is brand new, and I forgot to remove the piece of plastic inside. And I'm just going to coat the page now. So we've got water with watercolor paper, with watercolor paints, and now we are going for acrylic. I really wanted to do something with turquoise or teal, whatever you want to call that color. And I'm now coating the background. Remember, with art journaling, there's no right and there's no wrong. You can do whatever you want to do. So next up, I'm taking, while the paint is wet, I'm taking just a stencil that I had lying around, and with a baby wipe, I am removing some of the excess paint to create some interest, leaving that to dry completely. Went through my stamps and I found this set that I hadn't used forever. So that stays on color I used there was not dark enough to actually show up on the background. And I'm moving over to a different ink pad that has a variety of colors. I'm now going in with another stamp set, and those are just ink pads that I created myself because I have the re-inkers, but I don't have the pads. That is also a fun way to get your own inks if you can't buy them. Next up, I'm using some more acrylic paint and another kind of stencil with a smaller pattern. You can see how I'm building the background there. And that shimmer that you can see when I hold the page into the light is from one of the paints. It's a shimmers paint, and it actually has a bit of a pigment in it. Now, when you use a blending brush, please make sure that after you've used acrylic paint with it, that you just clean it. Otherwise, your blending brush will really be ruined. You guys, I do not know how long I've had this stamp, maybe 17 or 18 years, and I don't even think I've used it once. So I thought, let me grab this stamp and just stamp it. I have no idea where I'm going at this stage, which is the beauty of art journaling. Now I'm using StazOn here because it dries immediately and it also gives a perfectly crisp impression. And these are very detailed stamps, and the paper is textured. So when you stamp onto watercolor paper or any other paper that is textured, you want to make sure that you use a very good ink, and you want to apply good pressure as well. And remember just to clean your stamp. Use a baby wipe just to condition the stamp, because StazOn does dry it out. This is a new stamp set that I bought myself as a treat. It's really lovely. It's a paper artsy set, and I'm going to be inking it with various colors of ink. All these pads are self-made, except that one there in the top right, which I've also had for a long time, and I just unwrapped it recently to use it. So very easy. I'm just applying ink to the stamp randomly, and I'm stamping it onto, this is a Bristol paper, but you can use any smooth paper. Cleaning my stamp, that is a stamp scrubber. You don't necessarily have to clean your stamps using that, but if you like clean stamps, and because this is a pigment ink, an archival ink, I'm worried that the color might transfer onto my next stamp that I'm going, or the next paper that I'm going to stamp on. So there you can see how beautiful that is. I am going to fussy cut that later, and I also want to do a like a double stamp. Because I missed some areas, I'm grabbing my Jelly Roll pens. You can use any fine liner, doesn't have to be a Jelly Roll. You can see I've got my Micron colored pen there. You just want a pen that's permanent, because you might add some water later, and I'm filling in the lines. So please remember that art journaling is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be relaxing. There's not supposed to be major rules. There's no right and wrong. You guys, you must simply enjoy this. So now I'm going to stamp my background butterfly, if you want to call it that, and then the one that I've cut out, I'm going to glue over that one to give some dimension. You don't have to, if you want to follow this recipe, you don't have to fussy cut it perfectly. You can cut it as detailed as you want to. Doesn't have to be a butterfly. You don't even have to stamp. You can use a picture from a magazine. You can use a serviette that you've just glued onto cardstock with some gel medium, and then you create your own paper, quote unquote. You can apply something directly to the page from, a die cut element from a scrapbook collection, or from anything. There is no right or wrong. Okay, so I felt that my butterfly was a bit too white, so I'm going in with various colors of ink and my blending brush. Once again, I'm using an archival ink, because a dye ink will react forever with water unless you're using an oxide, which is a dual ink, so it will become permanent if it is heat set. I wanted to just outline the outer edges to give some more depth to my butterfly. Don't use the color I used. I think I used, I don't know what, London Fog or something. I had to go over it quite a bit. It's also memento ink, which means that it dries very light. Maybe that's espresso truffle if I'm looking at the cover now. But you can see that it looks much better now that I've inked the butterfly a bit and I have outlined the edges. So at this stage, I'm not going to show how I finished the page, but I'm thinking that I want to let my butterfly sleep on something, so I die cut this little circle. It's a very old one. Die cut lots of leaves, which I just colored in the end. You can use any method to color them. You can use real leaves. You don't have to use leaves. You can use flowers. You can use strips of paper. This is just to create an element with a focal point on your page and then to frame it. And the video is going to stop shortly, because this is just an introduction, and then I will show the final result.
I know that I stopped the video.
You guys, you will be inspired to grab your journal and enjoy.
I just finished it off, so I want to show you subsequently what I did. I simply used some leftovers from my stash to create a title. I colored all those leaves. You can use your imagination. The die cut here, the circle, that's just kind of to ground the butterfly. I did decide eventually to make that a nice dark color, just so that it would solidify and it would draw your eye to a centerpiece. You can finish it off with some doodling. You can see that I used an acrylic marker there. That's another stamp set. I brought in some small stamps. I added some splats in the end, and then when I closed my book, some of the inks and paints transferred to this page. So I simply used tissue paper. That is a piece of tissue paper. I think everybody got some tissue paper. So I literally tore the tissue paper. I will do a video on that. If you guys are interested, let me know. I'm not going to give a timeline when I will be doing that. It's a freebie. So, and then I simply adhered it with gel medium. I added a stamp here. Oh, that's actually also tissue paper. That's a word cut from a tissue paper. And this is also a tissue paper. You cannot even see that is a tissue paper. Once again, a leftover word from a scrapbook project, and I finished it off with some splatters. As you can see, the paper is absolutely fantastic. Of course, I am using my journal. This was just some playtime. You can see how it really, that came through, because I tried to get it through there. I was seeing how much can this paper actually handle. But as you saw in the video, this really was put under scrutiny and duress, and nothing transfers. With this page, I just wanted to tell you that this is actually the front page, which is not watercolor paper. So it's simply a thick, I think it's Monk and Pure, and I wanted to see how that would also hold up. So what I did in November, I actually painted layers upon layers of paint onto this front page. It took about a week to dry. I added gesso to the back. I took another piece. This was the watercolor. This is the front side. I colored the front with acrylic paints. Then I misted it. And then I used a stencil. Left it to dry. You can see there how wonderfully it dries. So yes, of course it's going to wobble a little bit. It's watercolor paper. So unless you mount watercolor paper, it is not going to be perfectly flat. But what impressed me most, I think, was this front page. So it's still a bit flexible because it has so much acrylic paint on it, but it's just amazing. I am really quite thrilled with the quality of the paper and how the book is holding up. Nothing is fraying. I have many other journals that have actually started, I don't want to say fall apart, but you can see that they're worse for the wear. Here I simply just stamped some images and then I watercolored it very randomly, and that is also a stamp. And then I simply journaled. So this is a smooth side in your journal, and then this is textured. And if you page through your journal, for instance, these are two smooth sides, that's textured. Here you have that is smooth, that is textured. So the book is really, really amazing in my opinion. Not just because it's our book. But, you know, like I said, it took a year to develop this book, different papers, seeing what would work best. And here I just tested out some inks and stenciling, and good things do indeed take time. So there's lots more art journal videos on the Studio channel. I hope that you will be inspired and that you will please use your book and be creative.